My screen's not working though. All right, let's see. There we go. Now we're live. That took a moment to kick in. So, back from vacation, and that was a good time away, which was nice. And get the screen optimized here. And the vacation was nice. Went out, spent some time in the woods at the cabin, and just chilled with the wife, and got to spend some time just to clear the head and just uh, think about other things other than audio, which was nice. Did think a little bit of audio. I made a video, but other than that, it was pretty much gear free. So that's different. That's unique for me. I don't get that too often. So ask away. Tonight is your night to ask questions about anything audio related. And yeah, other things that pop into your brain. And I'll do the best that I can to answer it as honestly as possible. I am not used to this setup. This is kind of strange here. Need to get my screen so I can read the questions when they come in. I have it, usually I have it to the side, and tonight I have it directly in front of me. And something about the lighting in the room is like affecting the being able to read the chat. So, anyways, we'll get it all figured out as we go along here. And we got 17 people online. Thank you very much for joining, and do greatly appreciate it. Just if you enjoy it, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, I understand if you have to give a thumbs down. Also, there's all kinds of other options available. If you want to support the channel, follow the channel, there's all kinds of links in there, all that kind of stuff. So check all that out. I did drop a few links down in the chat for some information for you. If you have some questions regarding my terms and definitions, reference gear that I use, music, that type of thing. And so you can put that on our tab and maybe follow along if you want. And that's for your references, and I'll probably be using it as well, actually, just to be honest. So, today, Greece. Hello, welcome. That's a long ways away. Today it was woke up really early, and I'll spit this out. Woke up this morning to really strong thunderstorms and strong winds, and it just was like coming down so hard. You had like a river running down the street. It was crazy how hard it was storming, and my poor little cats were like all huddled in the corners, like freaking out, and the dogs were freaking out too. And so that was a fun start to a Saturday. That went on intermittently. We had storms all the way through till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And then after that, sunshine, and it got really hot, got up to like 90 something degrees. And it was just like, wow, instantaneously, it just increased in heat. So that was crazy how that happened. All right, any questions here? I haven't seen anything come through. Hey, Christopher, glad that you were able to catch the stream live again. That's cool. Good to have you back. No questions tonight? Really? No topics you want to discuss? Nothing exciting? No interests? I did see something about somebody asked for if I had heard the XS, the edition XS yet. Have not. So I do apologize for that. Hey, thank you very much, Christopher, for the coffee. And in fact, speaking of, I came prepared. Tonight is iced coffee, and it's this stuff. I don't know if you'll be able to see that on camera very well. It's by Sight Glass, and it's called Blue Boon. Has taste notes of milk chocolate, mandarin, and honeysuckle. And Sight Glass is based in Los Angeles, California, in case you were wondering. And Yeah, I actually enjoy this coffee a lot. It has a sweetness to it, and it's really good for like iced coffee. So if you like iced coffee and you like to make your own and make your own brew or roast, I guess, sight glass. I enjoy it. All right, so do appreciate the funds for coffee, Christopher. Do greatly appreciate that. That's very much appreciated. Anybody else have any other coffees that they recommend? Okay, let's see. Oh, here we got a question. What headphones did you first hear that got you into headphones, or that you remember liking first? Um, First pair that I ever heard were actually the Cost Porta Pros. If those are headphones, they're kind of like in betweeners. And that was a long time ago. Also, those really janky Sony Walkmans, the ones that had the bar and the scruffy pads. Uh, Not a coffee drinker, no help. Okay, that's no problem, no worries. The So those were the official first headphones. That was moons ago. But the ones that really kind of got me started were hmm, probably the Superlux HD 681 Evo. That would probably be the one that kind of jump started everything several years ago, along with some others that like some friends had. But that was probably the one that goes, there's something to these. Pete's coffee. Yes, I actually like Pete's coffee. That's good stuff. Um, I had some in house a week or so ago, but I drank it all. It was really good. I don't remember which um, roast it was. Just wanted to say hi. I'm Jacob from Israel. Love your reviews. Keep it up. Hi, Jacob. Thank you. Glad that you enjoy the videos and find them helpful. Let's see. I like Porta Pros, and I've heard of the Superlux. Koss has a new one out called the KPH 40, which is like an update to the Porta Pro. Yeah, I saw that. Um, Very curious about those. I hope to be able to get one in. I'm sure that they'll be fairly cheap, just like the Porta Pros and all the other Kosses. So that shouldn't be a problem. Let's see. Welcome to Greece and Israel and more. Yes, absolutely. Thank you for everybody showing up. That's amazing that we get visitors into chat from all over in the world. That's really cool. Because here I am in the middle of the United States in Indiana, and super far away from those places. So that's really cool that I'm able to reach via the internet. Right, let's see, Christopher. Well, I'd like to get into a controversial topic. I loved your philosophic video on being out in the woods and hearing natural sounds, as it reminded me of Steve Guttenberg's style. Okay. Sure, yeah, I can see that. That wasn't the intention. So, Steve, if you're watching, I do apologize. I did not mean to rip off your style. But no, I get what you're saying. Let's see. And it inspired me to ask about the disparity and ageism that's not quite talked about in the audio world. Okay, Valhalla by Death Wish. I've tried Death Wish. I haven't tried Valhalla, but there's something about like just Death Wish coffee that I've tried that doesn't mix with my body very well. It gives me really bad acid reflux, and it's just like super. I don't know, something just funky. But I'm glad you enjoy that. But that one's actually one that I'm going to have to say no to. Um, Not saying they're a bad coffee. It's just me and my taste buds don't agree, and my body doesn't like it. Let's see. Okay, so ageism, as far as like having gray hair and being elderly and things like that. Is that what you're talking about there, Christopher? Let's see. Paul had to set up Porta Pros back in the 80s with the Cost Music Box version of the Walkman. I never got to try the Music Box. That one was did. I was always a Sony Walkman user, but the Walk Box, I did hear about that, or the Music Box. Not I'm getting them confused there. The Music Box. Let's see, Lori. I still rip CDs to a hard drive and I have many over the years. Friends and family wonder why I'm not streaming. You know what? Actually, nothing wrong with that. I have recently, well, not so recently, I guess within the year or so, gone through and found all the CDs that I could in the household and ripped them and put them in as FLAC into my computer. And I use that most of the time. I do stream because, I don't own every piece of music that I like and enjoy. But for the most part, I actually do listen to local files, and I really do enjoy that. One of my favorite things to do when I have opportunities is to go to like music stores or to like yard sales and stuff and find um, CDs that people are just selling dirt cheap and ripping them and storing them on my local file. So yeah, I do it all the time. Nothing wrong with it. Totally understand that. Streaming isn't for everybody, so I get it. All right, let's see. All right, Christopher. I'm 34 and have done gigs and clubs and concerts in the past and have busted my ears with years on construction sites. Oof. Others may not have been in such loud environments and may not have problems. Okay. Yes, absolutely. I think that that's something that is not always discussed or considered. And as long as you, the user or the listener, understand where your deficiencies are, so to speak, as far as, okay, I struggle to hear high end, or I things do this or that, that will help you to be a discerning listener. If you don't understand what you're actually hearing because of your deficiencies, then you're going to get confused when you watch reviews or listen to reviews, read reviews, and they don't explain exactly how things work. If that makes sense. As far as, uh, is there a certain cutoff where you're good or bad? No, I don't think so at all. I think that it comes down to your abilities as you've gone over time to grow your abilities to listen. Um, what music you use, what gear you use, that type of thing. Um, is that what you were hoping I would say or seeking, or is there another um, thing that you want me to add to that? I do think it's something that should be addressed more often, though. Absolutely. Because I'm 46 and yeah, I'm not, I don't have fresh ears. I have abused my ears a lot and there has been getting to it. Okay. um, as a young, if you read my listening too loud, how loud is music should be played. I talk about how I used to sit in front of speakers and blast them as low as I could because I love to see the drivers just, you know, move and I love to feel the air coming out of the ports. And my friend and I, we used to do that all the time, blasting AC/DC and Metallica and Rush and a bunch of other rock groups just so that we could get that experience. And I know that that wasn't healthy for my ears now, but back then it was fun. And also I went to concerts and I did, there's a lot of other things that I used to listen to music super loud all the time. I used to feel because I felt like I couldn't feel it if I didn't have it loud. And so yeah, you obviously damage things. I've worked in factories and all that kind of stuff too. So I can understand where you're coming from there. But main important thing is if you are younger, learn how to listen at lower levels and to be able to discern what you're hearing and understand it, how the different frequencies, affect things. And you'll be able to protect your ears a little bit better. But I don't think it really matters. Like, oh, so and so is 50, so he goes over in this one, or she goes over in this block, and these people that are this younger go in this block. No, you don't need it. No, there's not a place for that. If they can still hear, you can still hear and enjoy the music. Greetings from Manila, Philippines. Thomas, thank you for coming. That's a long ways away from me also. That may be the furthest so far. Wow, that's craziness. All right, so with age comes a loss of hearing. Yes, through tons of reasons. Seems to be that those whom own and manufacture headphones are of an age where it is common for hearing loss. Yes, to a degree. Also, you'll also notice if you go and research sound engineers and mixers and masters of all these big name artists, guess what? The majority of those people are older. The majority of them are 50, 60, 70 years old and been around for a long time. So it goes to show that you do not need to have top end, the most perfect 20 to 20 hearing in order to be enjoying the music and to understand music. You can still hear music and enjoy music if you have trained ears and know what you're seeking and listening for. Older people tend to want more bass, more highs and less bass. Not necessarily. It kind of depends. I think you're kind of, again, boxing people into a place where they don't always exist. Just because someone is older doesn't mean that they can't hear those. Maybe they just enjoy those type of setting. So, there's a lot in this discussion, and I think that there's different points of view, but a lot of times we tend to kind of get a little closed in and think about our own little age bracket instead of realizing that part of just being human is you do degrade over time, and part of being a human is you learn over time. And so in audio, how do you merge the two? You have to learn how to listen and understand the music. And then also at the same time, you have to be able to compensate and understand where your so-called flaws are or deficiencies are and be able to work around it. I have a friend who works in radio and is an engineer, and he also goes and installs sound systems at businesses and repairs them. He was tested. He can only hear up towards like 10K. He can't hear above that. But guess what? He's still highly regarded and people still enjoy the sound setups that he runs and think that he has a very good ear. And it's because he has, over the oogles of years that he has been doing it, has trained his ear and he knows what he's looking for and how things are supposed to sound and how to set it up. So train your ears, understand it, and you'll still be able to enjoy music even as you get older. Let's see. I have the HBB Olinas. I really like them, but I'm now looking to upgrade to the next level. What would you recommend? Okay, the Olina is you could go Moondrop Kato. You could go the Audio Elixir. You could go Tin Hi-Fi P1 Max, Shure S12s, and there's all kinds of options there to go up from the Olina, depending on what you're looking for. What would be your budget? Okay, so let's see here. Lori says, I'm about 76 and my hearing is still stellar. Yeah, absolutely. We've discussed this a lot of times, Lori. It amazes me. If there is one person that I know that has incredible hearing, it's Lori. Um, so unbelievably, I've been lucky, but then I never abused it and never been in this, or sorry, and I've been in this since 1962. See, so that Lori's a good example of being able to understand how to listen to music at proper levels, not to abuse your ears, to protect them when you're in louder settings, and also to still enjoy the music at an elderly age. And that's craziness. That's something I wish I had done a long time ago. Is learned you don't need to listen at super loud levels in order to be able to get the same information. In fact, I find that I enjoy music better at lower levels and I hear more in the music at lower levels. All right, let's see here. Do you think that it's a disparity that isn't addressed when it comes to tuning because those who tune to classic recordings, such as Eric Clapton's 80s live albums, are wedging out potentially? That's a good point. Yes, in a certain degree, I do think that you have a certain type of tuning that is being not necessarily forced, but is being more preferred because of certain styles of music. And I think that that's where a lot of the more common musical um, styles and genres of music are kind of dominating the tunings that manufacturers are taking with their headphones and IEMs. And so when you happen to come across a manufacturer who tunes something to the more neutral and natural tone, like they used to tune a lot of things back in the day, people go, "Oh, what is this? Oh, this is odd." And so, you get that kind of disparity, so to speak, where some like, some don't, and you are losing that side of it. But I do think it's starting to come back a little bit. Um, it is interesting if you look at some of the gear that's coming out recently, it's being tuned more on a neutral level, whereas before everything was being tuned more big bass and super highs, more V shaped, whereas things are now starting to be tuned a little bit on the more neutral um, and balanced side of things. It is interesting to see how you have a mix. And I think that we're in a flux right now with the audio community and the manufacturers. And you have a certain side of it that really wants the big bass and high trebles and the V-shaped type of sound because that goes with their type of music, with pop, rap, EDM, dance, and that type of music. And then you have the other ones that are, you know, still, they like the rock, they like the classic rock, they like the metal, and so they want something that isn't quite shaped that way. And then you have the true lovers of music with jazz, classical, things like that, which want something a little bit more neutral. And so manufacturers are trying to go, okay, how can we squeeze all this into one? That's interesting. It's a good topic. I like this topic. Let's see. New generations of audio enthusiastic folks whom are akin to new technologies and recordings. Yes, there is a lot of newer stuff coming out, which is very interesting. But at the same time, you're seeing them mix in a lot of other elements that remove the more natural side of things. And I think that when you get the more neutral sounding gear and you play that, it kind of sounds a little off putting. And people are like, I'm not getting that element, the drive that I'm looking for. Let's see. Older people have hearing loss. Yes. Associated with aging, just like vision. Yes. This is normal. Lori is very fortunate to have preserved hearing. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a known thing that as you get older, you are going to lose a little bit of hearing. You're also going to lose your eyesight a little bit. Some affects faster than others and in different ways. But at the same time, as we're growing up, as we're getting older, as we're getting wiser, we can do certain things to preserve that. And it always amazes me some people who you look at them and you go, wow, you only look like you're 20 something years old, and they'll go, I'm 50. And you're like, whoa, and then you have others that are like, yeah, I'm only 25 years old, and you look at them and you go, wow, you look like you're 50. Some people age differently in looks, and also they age differently with their ears. And so, it's just kind of depends on who you are and where you are. And I think that's an interesting thing with audio, and that how that we can do as much as we can to protect our ears or to abuse them. And some it affects and some it doesn't. Let's see. Let's see. This guy who played Bach since he was 10 and now sings liturgical Orthodox chant and has sung Handel, Vivaldi, Beethoven, hates bass anemic cans. What in the world is this guy going on? You know what? Actually, um, I actually don't like bass anemic cans. And it's really interesting because if you're looking for a neutral and a natural reproduction, bass has authority, bass has note weight, and there's a density to the bass and there's a power to the bass that he's probably looking for, which is different than a bass head headphone. Like a bass headphone is going to like, like really just pounded in there, and it's going to be an aggressive approach. Whereas a more audiophile, natural, neutral bass is going to be powerful. It's going to grip you. It's going to move you, and it's going to sound accurate and true. And you're going to like feel it, but at the same time, it's not going to be like pounding your head, giving you a headache like a bass headphone, if that makes sense. So that's probably where he's coming from, if I had to guess. Okay, I saw somebody mention that they like big bass, but shrill highs hurt. Guess what? You're in the same boat as me. I like bass, as I just said, but also treble can be very troublesome. Also, so can be upper mids. So kind of depends. We all have a little bit of sensitivity in certain areas. Some it doesn't bother as much, but for me, I'm extremely picky when it comes to treble and to the mids and how they're presented. And if they are a little too elevated and they get into that shrill or the brightness and the hot side of things, my ears just say, no way, get out of here. Let's try something else. In fact, we have a review coming up of a headphone of that. No hints. All right, let's see here. What else did I miss? Hey, Jacob, again from Israel. I have Meze Empyrean headphones, and I'm very satisfied. If I understand, you sold yours and why. I sold them just because they just weren't getting enough head time. And I still enjoy the Empyrean and love them. And I really highly recommend the Empyrean a whole lot. Unfortunately, for me, I have all this other gear, and they just weren't getting as much head time as they should. And I felt like somebody else should enjoy them more than me. I listen to my Ross and Red Zeros a whole lot more, and that's my preference and my reference headphone. And the Empyrean was just kind of sitting there, not really getting its time. And that's the reason why I got rid of it. Okay, let's see. Under $200, I would like something with a little tighter, punchier bass with a wider, deeper soundstage. I mostly listen to hard rock music. Okay, so you're referring back to an update from the Olina. Yeah, I would go Thea Audio Elixir. It's $210, so if you can squeeze $10 in there. Another one that you could do is the Shure S12s, if you're willing to tweak them a little bit. You could also yeah, those would be the two I would start with. With the S12, so yeah, you do have to have a good, powerful source, a pretty powerful dongle or desktop amplifier of some sort. Sightglass is the best. I like it. I really do. I like Sightglass a lot. This is actually the first time I've ever had Sightglass sent to me. I'm almost through the whole bag, and it's only been here for like 3 days. Let's see here. Hey, Dave, I made it. Hi, Steven. Welcome. Okay. Sightglass blue bottle. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. HD 800s. Hint, hint. Could be. Let's see. What is your favorite dongle? My favorite dongles, I actually have two of them, and that is the Periodic Audio Rhodium, which Lori will confirm is amazing and works with Apple products, and then also the Hibby FC4. And if you want an alternative to that and you don't need the balanced out of the FC4, FC3. Let's see. Christopher. Sibilant hissing, it's a big no-no to me. On the topic of bass, probably best described in notes you can hear and bass you can feel. Sub bass being the head rumble kind. You want me to tell you a headphone that does that, or an IEM, Christopher? What's your take on the K702s? I haven't heard them in a long time. Big soundstage, little bit too much treble energy. But for the most part, they're pretty good. I do wish that it was tamed down just a little bit on the top end. Can get a little bit on the hot side and a little bit bright in the upper mids, but other than that, they're pretty good. Big, huge soundstage, amazing imaging, excellent for gaming. Okay, let's see here. Let's see. What do we got here? Hi, Dave. I own the Folcal Stellias and the HD 650. Love them both, and I'm thinking about buying a planar to add to my collection to play on my Burson Solus 3X. Very nice amplifier. My chord Cutest. I have not heard the chord Cutest. What would you recommend? Okay, so I haven't heard the Stellias, but long time ago when they were at Oxpona and they were like pre-production. Um, So as far as planar, you look for about the same price point as the Stellias, or are you looking a little bit higher? You could go if you're looking for closed back because opens and closed. Let's see, you could go with the Odyssey LCD 2 close. I really do enjoy that closed back. You could go if you want something a little bit more neutral. You could get a drop Dan Clark Ether CX. If you want open, you could go Hi-Fi Min Ananda. Trying to think what would pair well with those. If you want something kind of that is similar to Ananda and LCDX merged together, you could get an Odyssey LCDX 21. And if you want to spend a little extra money, you could get the Aria Stealth, which is a fantastic one if you like a bigger soundstage with very good technicalities. That should get you started in a good way. Let's see. Zeos has collaborated on the new Shure Z12. When are you going to do your first collaboration? Good question. If somebody reaches out, haven't been contacted regarding that. Have spoke to a few people regarding it. It's an interesting process. Not sure. Let's see. Yes, please. What headphone is that? But does it lose sparkle in the high? I'm sorry. Does it lose the sparkle? Oh, you're talking about the headphone I'm going to be reviewing. You'll have to find out. Let's see here. Into it. I got a new phone today. Well, congratulations. You're going to be in dongle land. Awesome. I have some dongles I can send you to do reviews on. We'll talk about that later. Into it. All right. Let's see here. Thomas, I don't have any problem paying more. What would you recommend? Oh, sorry. That's to Thomas. Sundara is the budget planar king. Aria Stealth is incredible all around. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sundara. Obviously, if you want to stay cheaper, yeah, start with the Sundara as far as planars. Do apologize. Thank you, Stephen, for refreshing me. See, old age disparity thing. All right. Let's see. Um, let's see, Lori. Until my infinitesimal RS 0.1s, I never had a subwoofer. In the 50s, we didn't have bass except stand up ones. Later, it was artificially added. Then people went crazy. Interesting. Um, that would have been an interesting sound. So, but it was more mono, right? Instead, hmm, be curious to see how those would have sounded without a subwoofer. Hi-Fi Min Edition XS. Haven't heard one. Take the Ananda instead because that's the one I've heard. Let's see. People have gone crazy with subwoofers. If you look at subwoofers over the last 20 years, they've gone from being basically a box um, to being insanely huge, huge tall things, massive, down firing, back firing, front firing, side firing, flat ones, big, huge. I mean, subwoofers have just gone nutso. All right, let's see. Theo BTR5 as a wired dongle with Bluetooth, very diverse, and with 3.5 and 2.5 balanced out. Power is very thirsty IEMs and headphones love sound. Okay, I haven't heard the BTR5. See, recently got the HE4XX. Was thinking of the Edition X. Any improvements? Can't say. Haven't heard. Do you think equivalently priced desktop DAC amps are almost always going to sound better than portable? Trying to get me in trouble. um, yes and no. Some dongles sound really amazing for their abilities. It depends on what you're using to drive it. But normally, for the most part, DAC amps on the desk are going to be better than a dongle. Dongles will have limitations, just because of power output and the chips that they can use, things like that. But for the most part, desktops will sound better, but there are some pretty bad sounding dongles out there that I've heard. Um, so it kind of just depends. I always felt speakers should stand on their own. No pun intended. Yes, no, absolutely. I do think that if a speaker that you don't have to supplement with a subwoofer will sound better, but unfortunately they're hard to come by in a lot of my level of budget. But yeah, no, I totally understand that. I've heard a lot of systems at audio shows that didn't have subwoofers in them, and you would think, wow, that thing's got a subwoofer. So yeah, no, I totally get it. Uh, how do you rate the Sony MDR 7506? 7506 is an amazing headphone for the value. Do you have to change the pads on it? The stock pads are atrociously uncomfortable. The But as far as tonality, they're very good. They are slightly bass boosted and treble boosted. So you kind of have to take that into effect when you're using them, but they make very good monitors. I actually like the CD 900 STs, I think it is, a little bit better, especially if you put Yaxi pads on them. But both are very good. Let's see here. I have a HD800S, an HD600, and a HiFiMan HE6SE V2. And I'm wondering, buying used a HiFiMan HE1000 SE, if you think it would bring me something special. Well, the HE1000 SE will sound different, be a little bit on the more warm side and a little bit more uh, analytical than your HD600, obviously. But will it be different enough technicalities from the 800S? They're probably out on par, depending on what amp you're going to use. The HE6SE V2, I have not heard. So I do not know about that one. 800S is going to be brighter and a little bit more thinner note weight than the HE1000 SE. So you'll get a little bit more bass impact with the HE1000 SE. It might give you something a little different, but I don't know if it'll be a big difference, if that makes sense. But it definitely is a special headphone. It sounds really cool. And it's super comfy. And you're already used to big with the 800S. I mean, those things are massive. So the size of the HE1000 cup shouldn't bother you. Let's see. Blessing 2, I don't know if it will work for hard rock. Let's do older rock songs and find they sound good. Yes, depending on the recording of the rock, Blessing 2 might be a little bit on the harsh side to some ears. It is a little elevated there. Does really good with technicalities. It is a little bit thinner on note weight. So depending on what rock you're listening to, it may not pair up quite proper. Also, it might depend on what source you're using. Let's see here. Powerful sound, dynamic, wide, tall soundstage, great sub bass, rumble, sparkly highs. Though some songs may present sibilance. Yeah, as far as the, that's a good point. Oh, let's see, Lucky. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean a dongle. I meant, for example, using an IFI Griffin micro IDSD signature Diablo to replace the desktop. Gotcha. Those are a little bit different. Especially the micro IDSD and signatures and the Diablo, those are basically a desktop in very small form with a portable side of it. Griffin is kind of in the same vein, but not quite as desktopy as the other two. But all three of those, they definitely can stand alone as far as desktop option. Let's see. Okay, best budget DAP with Android. Sony NWA 105. I haven't heard too many of the DAPs in that price point. So Probably would go that way. Let's see. Yeah, taking the Griffin versus topping DX7. That would be a good comparison, but unfortunately, I haven't heard the DX7. Or the Diablo versus the Fio K9 Pro. Unfortunately, I haven't heard the K9 Pro either. Let's see. Can a warm sounding headphone or IEM still deliver detail? Yes. As long as it's tuned properly and implemented well, yes, you are still going to get the details. Why? Because the detail is in the music file, it's not in the headphone, if that makes sense. And you just have to listen differently. It's just a different listening experience, but yes, the details are still there. When something is neutral and lean, it becomes easier to identify a detail. Not necessarily. I can see where you're going from that. That kind of gives that where you're thinking that you get a false uh, impression of like elevation, gives you that false sense of more detail and air and space. Not necessarily. Um, but yeah, sometimes if it's a little bit leaner, sure, you might think that you're hearing a little bit more detail, but the details are still there. Let's see. Dusk might be better than regular Blessing 2 for rock music. It might be. It does have a little bit more bass, a little bit more tame top end. I haven't heard the Dusk, though. That's a good point. How about an IEM rec for streaming movies to a table? Something that will work for explosions and gunfire. Not really my cup of tea. Sorry. Sorry about that, Matt. Nico, hello there. Love your reviews. Thank you for swinging by. Let's see. Mark Mangion, love your reviews. Will you review the new Fio BTR7? I didn't even know there was a new one. Thanks for the suggestion. If one is offered or provided, sure, I will. That's not really something that I look at when it comes to like the Bluetooth transmitters and receiver type of stuff. But sure, if one's provided, I would definitely take a listen to it and review it. Do you think it's worth getting a Diablo or a micro IDSD as purely a desktop use, or get a simple price full size combo stack? If I were to choose between those two, which one I would use on desk, I would use the micro IDSD signature, um, or even the original IDSD if you want a little warmer sound. To me, that one is more complete for the desktop, whereas the Diablo has a little bit more portable feel to it, but it is cool looking with the red. Would I use that solely as a desktop? Me personally, no. But I could see it definitely being used as that. For that price point, let's see, how much is a micro IDSD? They're 700. You can get a really nice setup for that price. Um, with separates. So kind of just depends on what you're looking for and how much space that you have. Toby, love the way you structure your reviews. Hey, thanks. I try to keep them all the same, and it just makes it easy for me to remember how to do them. So glad that you enjoy them. Nemesis, been looking for cheap chi-fi. What are your recommendations? You mentioned KZ and CCA. I will not recommend any KZ or CCA products. But if you like warm sounding IEMs in that price point, you could go with like something like a Jade Audio EA3, Jade Audio EA1. Trying to think what some others in there that are a little bit on the warmer side, things like that. Let me look at my list. Sort by price. You could go with the triple and Leia. You could go with the um, you could go with the all-time favorite. Seems like the Blonde BL03 or the Blonde Mini. Blonde Mini is kind of an interesting fit, though. A little bit of bloated bass there. Um, there's all kinds of options in that 40 or less price point to consider. Let's see. Genuine question. What's a preamp and where does it go in the DAC and amp chain? Preamps is okay, now you're getting into technical world where I don't excel. Okay, but preamp basically is an amplifier for speakers, volume control basically, and you can use it as an output to speakers to control your powered speakers, or also to go into a power amplifier like my shit audio Vidar that's down here, to power the Martin Logans behind me. So you would have your DAC, your sometimes DACs have preamps, sometimes they don't. DAC amplifier preamp, power amp going to your speakers, or DAC preamp going to powered speakers. Let's see. Balanced versus unbalanced. Is there any other advantage apart from balanced being more powerful? Audiophiles claiming sound quality differences are selling snake oil. Yes and no. So you definitely do get a increase in power. It's fairly noticeable as far as your output. The reasons why most people claim that they hear differences sonically is because when you provide more power to gear, it enhances the experience and you're going to get more drive, which is going to help the drivers work properly, improving bass, body, treble control, things like that. But also, at the same time, is it always worth it? No, not everything needs to be driven balanced. And with a proper single-ended output with good power to it, you can get the same effect. So is it snake oil? Maybe. Depends on how you want to interpret it. Will you review the BTR 7 anytime soon? I already answered that. If one's provided, not really my type of thing, though. Moondrop Quarks are amazing. They're all right. They're fun, especially for the price tag. Let's see here. Thank you for your recommendations. You're very welcome. New Truth here Zero, which is the Critical collab, another Critical collab. Decently detailed for the 50-ish price point. Just came in yesterday. You have to like warm though. Interesting. Short plug life. Yes. Let's see. I went from great explanation of balanced and unbalanced. Thank you, Rodney. Let's see. I went from 3.5 unbalanced to 4.4 balanced, and the volume is louder and more body, more energy. It feels better. Sorry for the lack of expressions. Oh, no, no worries. Yeah, again, it's because when you go from when you give more power to certain things, it is going to increase the driver ability. You're going to give it more current, so it's going to respond accordingly. It's kind of like me in the morning when I haven't had my coffee yet. Kind of slow and sluggish, and then you zap me with some coffee and I get going. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Best multimedia IEMs for less than $30. I really haven't come across anything. I'm sorry. But that's not really something that I do. From what you've heard or tested, what IEM has the most pinpoint imaging? Okay, so I'm gonna break this down to a couple different price points. $300 and less, or Let's do $350 and less because it fits it. Moondrop Blessing 2. $1,000 to $350. ADV M512D. Beyond that, CTM DaVinci 10. $2:49 a.m. in Malta. Whew. It's a little early to be up. That time of day, I'd be sleeping. Whew. Thanks for joining us, Mark. Coffee and music keep you moving. Absolutely. That's the key. Is coffee and music. Balance tends to allow a more fuller experience. You can listen at the same volumes, but just experience weight to the music asking. A good way of putting it. But again, it also depends on the gear being played. And as I said, some things do not need to be run balanced. Picked up the Moondrop Katos on a one-day sale for $170. No tax, free shipping. Such a deal. And you're in love with them. Yeah, they're awesome. Lori, I'm glad that you like those. I figured that they'd be right up your alley. The sound signature of them is pretty much what you are looking for and what I'm seeking. So, awesome. And sounds good with the periodic audio rhodium. Mark is a real trooper at 3 a.m. Absolutely. Yeah, welcome to the Kato family, Lori. Absolutely. Those things are crazy good. You got a good deal. $170 ship. 171 minus a penny. Yeah, the Katos are awesome. And having smaller ears, they fit really well. So if you have smaller ears, Katos are like an insanely good fit. Let's see. Any other questions? Been going for nearly an hour. I saw something come across on Discord messaging. Let me see. Did I get something exciting here? Nope. Nothing too exciting. All right. So I do want to mention that I did take my Discord down for now. Not sure if we're going to bring it back or not. We had some technical issues with it, and there was a potential hack of that server. So we just killed it to be protective of everybody's livelihood, so to speak. So for everybody that was on it, it was to protect you and protect me and make sure that nothing got out publicly that we did not want. So there was a potential hack that is being investigated. Let's see. All right, Lori just convinced me to get the Katos in the new blue color. The blue is really cool looking. Instead of the fingerprint magnets like the silver ones that I have. The blue ones do look really cool. Let's see. Not for your wife though. They barely hang from the ear. Interesting. Wow, she's got really small ears then, because the Katos are pretty small. The Seek the real Seek airships are a little bit smaller. Maybe those would fit her ears. Let's see. Lori, am I wrong, or is Moondrop doing things really well? Love my SSRs as well. Yeah, Moondrop is one of the IEM manufacturers, along with Tin Hi-Fi, that I gel with really well. And I very rarely ever come across something from either one of those companies I'm like, So yeah, Moondrop and Tin Hi-Fi have figured it out, at least to my ears, and apparently to Lori's ears. Have you ever come across a headphone that went from bad to good just exchanging ear pads? Let's see. Monoprice retros went from bad to not as bad. Let's see. There's been a few others that are kind of like that. I've never had one that went from bad to like, holy cow, these things are insanely good. Like, anything like that. But yeah, I've had a few where pads definitely improved. I've also had some where you take the pads off, put some outs on because you think it'll help it, and it just makes it worse. Um, but yeah, I've never had one that's just like insanely crazy differences. Yeah. Okay. I was just listening to the Kato using the rhodium. It's a great combo. Moondrop is doing a lot of things right lately. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. What Oh, I'm sorry. What is the microphone that you're using? The audio quality is superb. This actually is a Rode Podcaster, and it's a USB microphone. What? You use a USB microphone? Oh, shame on you. You're supposed to be using an audio interface with XLR cables. No, this is a Rode Podcaster. Do the Katos need a ton of power? No, they're pretty easy to drive. Uh, yes, you definitely do benefit from using a dongle with the Katos. But I'm in dongle world, have been for several years, so I can't say whether or not it goes fine from a headphone jack from a phone because I haven't heard it. So I've always used dongles. Um, Did you have a take on the mobile Fidelity digital master transfer debacle? If so, missed it. I got here late. Mobile Fidelity digital master. I don't even know what you're talking about. So no take. You didn't miss anything. Um, let's see. Rode makes solid stuff. Yes, I've been using Rode microphones for a long time, and I truly, truly love Rode. Also, I love their headphone, the NTH 100. The Mobile Fidelity Digital Master Transfer debacle. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Doing well tonight. We've got a good crowd here. I'm enjoying this. Um, Liking it a lot. So some the Rode microphones. I use their little itty bitty one. It's the USB NTB. That thing's exceptional for its size. Looks like a little electric razor, but it's amazing. It comes with this little stand that you can set, and it's like this hard, rubbery hockey puck type of thing. And so when you put it on a desk, when you bounce, not bounce, but when you hit the desk, it doesn't resonate through. It does a really good job of blocking that out, even though it's right sitting on your desk. Or you can use it with a mic stand, and it connects very well. I've used obviously this one, and then there was another one before that, but I don't remember the model number at the moment. But I truly do like it. When I first started in YouTube, I was using a Marantz microphone, and as much as I liked the Marantz, it just didn't like bring out the quality of my voice properly. It always sounded a little digitized, and the Rhodes sound more natural and accurate. They don't sound as digitized. That's the reason why I like Rode. Let's see, Christopher. Recently wanted to get the new Rode, yet ended up getting the Grotto SR80X. No regrets. Did change the pads. Yeah, I've heard good things about the new X models of Grotto. I want to hear them. Haven't heard any yet. Um, but the SR80X seems to be like really popular. People really are enjoying it a lot more than the originals. Um, Curious, what pads did you put on? Did you put the bigger Cush pads, or did you put something else? What headphone has the best dynamics while still maintaining a good tone tuning to you? Ross and Red Zero. Let's see. Obviously, LCD Two Close does a good job that way. Also, um, the Mr. Speaker's Ether C also does a good job, but it is a little bit thinner, um, so it's not quite as good as those other two. Um, I destroyed my BTR5 first gen a long time ago. Once you go knob, you don't go back. Pretty much. Even though some people do go knob and then go back, which I don't quite understand. But I guess it depends on your use cases. Let's see. I think they pressed DSD files to vinyl and passed it off as analog. That would be interesting. Let's see. IFI Go Blue is actually really good. I do enjoy that one. Don't use it a whole lot, but yes, it is a good option when it comes to the Bluetooth option for it. Has a nice warm analog type of sound. Let's see. You made me buy the Rode NTH 100s. Also, I've got to stop following you, and you love them too. See, you know what? Those things are crazy, crazy good, and it's amazing the natural tonality of them, and just the overall presence that they give. I'm glad that you like the Rode NTH 100s. And don't stop following me. Just uh um I'll do some I'll do some non-recommended reviews for you to save your bank account. Uh or let's see here. Uh Greetings, Ricardo. Let's see. Yes, the Bluetooth range does suck on Go Blue. In fact, it seems like that's kind of a problem with IFI products in general that I've had, but the Go Blue is really bad at it for something about it. And it even if you like put it in your pocket, it seems to struggle. So I agree with you. Let's see. I followed Zeos on getting the $70 Shapibo pads. Hmm, generally, a few extra millimeters away from the driver really changes the sound. Interesting. Shapibo. I've never heard of that brand. But if there's anybody who knows pads, it's Zeos. I I'm sure it's probably grown even more. But there was like I don't know, a couple of years ago, he did a video where he pulls out this like massive, huge case, and it's just filled with pads. It probably had like 50 pairs of headphone pads on it. Um, so if anybody can find a pad that will fit a headphone and alter the sound properly, Zeos is probably the person. That at least that I can think of. Let's see. I'm debating taking the foam filter out of my NTH 100s. Why? Let's see, Matthew. I have the same issue with the Bluetooth on the iFi products. I just put on my big boy pants and brought a Hugo 2 and called it a day. Got to have some, got to have a nice, strong, durable belt if you're going to tote around your Hugo 2, 2 in your pant pocket. Um, he needs those pads monthly. Yeah. No, that's not, no. Anyways, my favorite sandwich is, I like a good Philly cheesesteak, and I also like a good Reuben. I am from New York, so I love Reubens if they're done properly, and then I also like a good Philly cheesesteak. So let's see. Rode NTH 100 actually helped me mix vocals better. Now, if only I could sing other than in the shower. I'm with you on that one. I can't sing either. But yes, the Rode NTHs definitely would help with mixed vocals, and absolutely mixing vocals. Hey, thank you, Kirk. I do appreciate the donation. That is very much appreciated. Um, Thoughts on streaming Spotify on my phone using Micro C, Dragon Red, IFI X-Can, and AKG K701s or Sennheiser HG650s, Moondrop Katos, and 7 Hertz Timeless. Um, Dragon Red, I haven't heard in a long time. It has pretty good power. I'm not sure if it would be enough to drive your 701s or timeless, but the X can definitely would be able to. So it would depend on if you're just going to use the Dragon Red as your DAC, then you wouldn't have a problem going straight into the X can. Spotify is not my favorite streaming service, but I'm more of a Tidal and Amazon HD user. But Spotify has a good library, and so if that's what you use, it'll work very much. So it sounds like you're heading in the right spot there with what you're using, and off to a good start. Thank you very much for the donation again, Kirk. I do appreciate that. You're welcome there, Doris. Let's see. You can learn a lot about people from their favorite sandwiches. That is true. Definitely. Let's see. Ricardo. I'm depressed because I see a lot of reviews of the Aeon X. And after I bought them, people said they have a warmer sound, and I found them sibilant. Can that be because of the 789? Yes, to a degree, 789 may be bringing that out just a little bit, as it is a little bit more detailed and a little bit more resolving, and it's a little bit more forceful in that area. So that could be pushing that out a little bit on the Aeon X. Plus, also, as we just discussed earlier in the stream, people are sensitive in different areas. So it could just be hitting you in your sensitivity spot. And unfortunately, sometimes that just happens. Cobuzz for the win. I'm glad that you like Cobuzz. Don't mind Cobuzz. What would you recommend as a replacement for Dan Clark Art Audio Aeon 2 Noir? Haven't heard the Noir. Heard the Aeon 2, but I hear that they're totally different, so I really couldn't say. But if you're looking to go up in price, probably either Hi-Fi Aria Stealth or Audeze LCD X21s would probably be the next step up. Or closed, you could go Audeze LCD to closed. Or the Dan Clark Ether C. You might have to go drop version, do the CX. Amazon HD, what is their audio quality? It's very similar sounding to Tidal. So they're very similar sound. As far as the actual specs, not sure. Yeah, the Aeon can come off as bright. Resolve brought that up in his review too. I have Noir and they are less bright. Could still be bright to some. They do have tuning filters, but I didn't love the filters. Filters are interesting. With any of the Dan Clarks, you kind of have to fiddle around with it and really try it. Some people like using them without filters, and some do. I have to use filters with my Ether Cs, or else my ears get shredded. I don't remember with the Aeon when I did my review which filter, but I think it was the thinner white one. I think it's one notch. Could have been I can't remember. Is the Symphonium Helios worth the money? I'm seriously thinking about getting a pair, or the Soft Ears RSV. Haven't heard either of those. So but I want to. Have you ever heard the Little Bear B4X? Has been my first and only tube amp, and would love to get your opinion on how it compares to higher end gear. Have not heard the Little Bear B4X. I have heard a Little Bear tube amp, but it wasn't the B4X. It was the actual desk one, but I don't remember the model. That was a long time ago. Some amp around $500, more warmer. Other good amps around that money, A90, but it's clinical. I don't have money for that awesome GSX Mini. Okay, A90 is a no-go from me. I will not recommend the A90. It is flat, which is not neutral and not natural. Flat is flat, and it sounds boring and does not have dynamics, and is, in my opinion, is not a good amplifier. If you're looking for clinical, Drop THX 1 Linear is an amazing amplifier for the price, that I highly recommend. That would be the one I would go for, in that price point. If you want a little bit more, but you don't want that super analytical, 789 is a little bit more analytical than the 1 Linear. Shit amps tend to be a little bit warmer. That may be an option too. But I would probably go 1 Linear, because 1 Linear has the more natural and neutral sound, without that extra clinical sound, and it would be the clinical sound that would probably be the more problem child, like the 789. I do have Amazon HD, but free Tidal. Was contemplating paying for Tidal. Is it worth it? It depends on whether or not you're happy with Amazon HD. If you really like Amazon HD and the library works for you, I would just stick with Amazon HD. The Tidal is good, but is it a massive increase? No. I mean, they're very, very similar in sound. Libraries are fairly close. So it kind of just depends. If you're already spending the money for Amazon HD, like if you have Prime or something, I would just stick with it, truthfully. Unless you absolutely want the MQA capabilities of Tidal, just stick with Amazon HD. Let's see. By the way, your garage is my dream. Not sure how, you want to clean my garage? Go for it. Let's see. Amazon Music HD uses lossless FLAC files, 16-bit 44.1 for CD quality tracks, and 2448 192 for Ultra HD. Okay, thank you, Jared. Appreciate the info. Have you heard the new Valley 2 amp? And if so, what do you think? I haven't heard it yet. I really, really want to. It interests me a lot. Be very curious about it. Yeah. Tidal supports artists more, Apple Music next, and then Amazon, Spotify is on the bottom of the list. That's true. If you are really want to give back to the artists, then Tidal is the best one there for that. Kirk, you're very welcome for the answers. Hopefully you found them helpful. I do appreciate the donations. Let's see. Problem is, I don't know what to upgrade, the amp or the Aeon X for the sibilant problem. If you have other gear, try the 789. And if you love the 789 with all your other gear and it works properly, then maybe it would be time to change the Aeon X. If you have the if you have the sibilance problems and you're just not quite happy with the 789, maybe you would want to change the 789 and then give it. I mean, it's kind of hard to just change one or the other. You kind of have to troubleshoot it a little bit and go, which one am I more happy with? Could also be your DAC source. Okay, could you please explain how a streamer works in regards to audio? Do you cast to it, or is it a stationary DAP for speakers? Okay, so Streamers. There's some different types of them. So like if you use the Matrix minis that I reviewed and things like that, you have a DAC, and you can do streaming as far as you connect it to your Wi-Fi. And so you would use your computer as your source, and it would go through. You can connect it with Ethernet. You can stream it through Wi-Fi. You can also stream out or in, depending on what you're using. But it always has to have some sort of music source. It doesn't have the music built in as far as the desktop ones, for the most part. And then you also have streaming services like Tidal, Qobuz, Amazon, things like that, that you can also stream to it and then broadcast it out accordingly to your amps and DACs. Streamers are interesting. Not really my thing. I'm more of a hardware guy. I just prefer to run a USB from my computer to a DAC to an amp. Unless I'm streaming, my service, music service. Um, Tough question. Not really my cup, my abilities to process and deliver that. That's just not um, who I am. Okay, let's see. I ordered a custom ADV M5 1D, but can't find any charts, any IEMs that are comparable to it. M5 1D is an amazing headphone or earphone, excuse me. Anything that would be similar. Can't think of anything off the top of my head that would graph similar. And being custom, they. Yeah, you're welcome, Christopher. Thank you for the donation. Appreciate it. Wealth of knowledge. Thank you for the praise. M5 1D, anything that sounds similar. Let me think on that. Because the custom will change a little bit. You will get better isolation, which will bring in more bass and a more full sound. Um, JT, if you're out there, any thoughts? All right, let's see. If you want to support the artists, the only real option is to buy. Bandcamp is a good option. That's true. That's the most obvious way is to purchase the CDs, and then you can do the Lori thing and download them and listen to them on your computer and locally. Tube amps definitely complement sibling gear for the better. They can. That is definitely an option as well. You could do that, or you could go something with a little bit warmer of a deck. You could go like a R2R or a warmer deck might team that a little bit as well. You could try different pads on the Aeon. That might help too. There are a few out there. Hey, thank you, Matthew. Appreciate the donation. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Yes, pads could help. I don't know if is are there alternate pads for the Aeons? I'm not sure about that. Ah, okay. So I don't use Bandcamp very often, so I'm learning something new here. I do appreciate that. So, um, yeah. See, Ricardo, that's the thing. The Aeon X is your first planar. That's cool. Very very nice. I don't know if you tried another like the XS, if that would help with the sibilance. Yeah. See, I haven't heard the XS, so I don't know. I know that the Ananda would probably be too much. If you think the Aeon is too much, you would probably think the Ananda is. So the XS might be a little more tame in that, but again, I haven't heard it. Remember to like the video? Yes, thanks. Helps creators out a lot, definitely. What is your go-to music when you review new audio gear? Do you have a specific library? Yes, actually, at the top of the chat, There is a link. Also, if you go to my website here, I will drop it in actually right now since you are asking about it. I will put a link right here. Rodriguez, Angel Rodriguez, here you go. There's a link that you can click on, and it will take you to my reference gear and music. I'm also going to put a link in for a write-up that I did on those specific um, whoops, for music directly, and it explains what I'm seeking in that. Now, it's not my only playlist that I use when I do reviews, but all gear gets run on that music, and that's kind of the final say. Thank you, Rob, for the donation. Do greatly appreciate that. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the love that you are giving me. You all are giving me tonight. I do greatly appreciate that. And appreciate all the people that have joined. We have 41 people currently in chat. That's awesome. Do greatly appreciate it. Everybody that's joined us. Look up the mobile fidelity issue. It is interesting at the very least. Okay. I will look it up. You have piqued my interest. I definitely will look that up. All right, let's see. Deconi makes Aeon pads. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, it's true. Planars and tube amps don't always play well together, so you do have to kind of do your research when it comes to that. Um, if you want to dabble in EQ, you could always EQ it, see if it works. I'm not an EQ guy. I prefer just to listen to it as is, and if it's doesn't agree and I have to EQ it, then it's not for me. That's the way I kind of look at things. But EQ definitely can help in that area. Let's see. O12 tube amps don't play well with planars. I tried it and it sounds thin, but lively at the same time, if that makes sense. You use a dark voice. Okay. I have not heard a dark voice, but yeah, some O2Ls, OTLs can have that issue. Also, so it kind of depends on the type of tube amplifier that you're using. Let's see. I've always had issues with hi-fi min being relatively bright, especially around 9 hertz. Just wondering if you've had the same experience with your Ananda. It is elevated there, and it is to the point of kind of like borderline for me. Some hi-fi mins are worse than others, and they can come across as being bright in the upper mids. Every now and then, I can, depending on sources, I can get that more with the Ananda. But yeah, hi-fi min does tend to elevate that area a little bit. Um, so I can understand where you come from there. I use my laptop as my source after ripping CDs, but I still use a preamp, amp, and DAC to my speakers. So convenience. I run remote app from my phone. Oh, that's cool. Now, what music program do you use? Do you use like Audirvana, Rune, or do you just use like Apple Music? Um, little, I can't remember what they call it, player, or something else. I'm just curious because I use Audirvana to kind of keep track of everything. EQ can save a lot of money. That is true, if you're willing to dabble in it, if that's your thing. Let's see. We've debated the EQ topic before. It tickles me how it keeps sneaking up. Well, it's because there's there's a split. I think it's some like EQ, some don't. Some use it just kind of like I do to kind of okay. There's something irking me. Where's it coming in at that type of thing? Um, it to each their own. Let's see. RJs do have that do tend to dip out a little bit in the beginnings of the presence regions from about 5 to 9K ish. So being dipped a little bit may help sometimes. I do find that also that elevation towards the back end of the presence region, like 8 and 9K, can be a problem for me. So it kind of depends on where the issue is for you. But that's a good point. Also, Audizes do tend to have that, and they also tend to dip 8 and 9K a little bit compared to Hi-Fi. Dan Clark's tend to rise that area just a little bit, so that could be something to consider as well. That's a good point, Matt. iTunes. Okay, that's where I can come up with. Thank you, Lori. Let's see. S magnet don't fix the metallic or sibilant problem. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Sorry, Ricardo. Let's see. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I used to think it was an issue with the HE1000 V2, which contradicts with the written reviews out there, but turns out it was just how Hi-Fi headphones sound. Yeah, Hi-Fi definitely does elevate that area just a little bit. And so that's part of their house sound, is it brings like that forwardness to it and that more presence. And that's kind of their house signature sound. Do you still love your Ananda as much as your first review? Think about grabbing a pair. Any other planars that give it a run for its money? Yes, I absolutely do love the Ananda still very much. Highly recommend them. They're a great headphone, very good upgrade. So you start Sundaras, you go up to Ananda. Anything that gives its run for its money. LCD X21s, Aria Stealth. I'm sure there's a couple others in there too that I haven't thought of at the moment. All right. Kirk, thank you again very much for the donation. Do greatly appreciate it. Looking for source hardware other than a phone. Want storage and streaming too. Sorry, I'm old school audiophile and not up to speed on the mobile stuff. Kirk, I use my computer, which is a MSI Cube, and then I have a external hard drive that I download all my music to, and then I just run music through Audirvana to a DAC. That's how I do it. And with Audirvana, I can use my Tidal and Amazon. Well, I can't use Amazon Tidal account, and it'll bring that rate in through Audirvana. And I can, if I want to stream the music too, you can do it that way. Also, Qobuz. When I was using Qobuz, you can do that as well. If you want to test treble and sibilant issues, I recommend their original recording of "If Looks Could Kill" by Oh, whew. Oh yeah, that's a really good recommendation. It was heavily emphasized to compensate for older speaker headphone technology. Good, good recommendation, Christopher. You're on point right there. And then listen to the remastered version. Yeah. Stealth magnets, do they make a difference? Ricardo, yes, actually, I have noticed a difference. It's not mind blowing, massively different. It's more in the control and the way of the Arias and also the other headphones, Davis that I've heard that have the stealths. I think I heard something else, but I don't remember. But yeah, you can hear a difference between them, but it's just kind of a subtle difference. But it is more about control, and you get a little bit better, just overall presentation that is more pleasing. Doesn't quite have those sharp edges. Um, oh man, if looks could kill by heart. Whew. All right, yeah, stealth magnets do lower the distortion. All right, let's see. Last question. Regardless of price, what would you say is your most preferred IEM that you've heard or reviewed? That would be the CTM DaVinci 10. Christopher, do the Deconi Blue still hold weight against competition? I haven't heard the Deconi Blues in a long time. Wasn't super huge fan of them as far as T50 variants went. I would say they still have a place in, but there are definitely better options now. If you're looking for a Deconi Blue, you might as well, for this similar price tag, get a T60 Argon instead, from Mod House. You're gonna get a little bit better of detail retrieval resolution, just overall a little bit more um, control in your, and a little bit better stage depth and layering. So I would just pay the extra money and just get something a little bit newer and more current. But I haven't heard them since they came out. All right, let's see. Just got a Sony X7 CDP, only 30 some pounds. Yeah, that thing is large. um, cool. How do you like it? Uh, let's see. I still use Fubar 2000 and just updated the theme every couple years. Cool. Fubar 2000 is a very good program. I used it for years, and then I went to Audiophile. Um, if you're using only local files mostly, Fubar is very good. Plus, you can do all of their different. If you like tinker with EQs and all that kind of stuff, it has all kinds of options in there. So, Fubar is a good program. Um, Parametric EQ is probably the way to go there, Apollo. I understand that. Why would anybody listen to Heart? I mean, unless you want an alternative to waterboarding. Well, they weren't terrible back in the day. I mean, they had some good hits. Heart wasn't that bad. Guess I'm showing my age there. Let's see. Refusing to use EQ is similar to refusing to change pads because you're changing the nature of the original sound. Yes and no. I think that there is pluses and minuses to both, and there's arguments on both sides. I'm kind of in between. I do use EQ at times. I don't prefer to, but I do use it to figure out, okay, is there something here that needs to be adjusted, or where's this issue, that type of thing. But I always review it in stock form, and I prefer to listen in stock form. And then as far as changing pads, I don't change pads unless I absolutely need to. For example, the Sony 7506s have to change those pads. Those pads are like wafer thin, and they just hurt my ears, and I don't like the feel of them. So I change the pads. But I don't go seeking it, and it's not something that I do immediately if something goes on my head. It's just like using tips on IEMs. I don't change the tips immediately to something that I prefer. I try all the stock tips first, and if they just don't work, then I start seeking. Um, that's just kind of my take on EQ, changing pads, changing tips. Same thing with cables, same thing. I always use the stocks as much as possible. I'm I'm a purist at heart, and so that's the easiest way to stay pure is not to change anything. Let's see. Oh boy, I would recommend the P12 AES, but it's not made anymore. Check the SBAF forums for ideas for Kirk. Interesting. Have not used that one. Thank you for taking the time to answer all of my questions and for keeping it honest. Take care and all the best in your channel. Thank you. You're very welcome. Channel we. Very interested in a T60 Argon with new pads in the mod. Yeah, the T60 is a good headphone to begin with. And then doing the Argon, when I got to review that, that was fun. I really did enjoy that headphone a lot. That's true. Over time, pads change though, so refusing to change pads would be like EQing really, really slowly. Pads do break in; they do, change. So that's a good argument. But that's also the reason why I do change. And normally, when I do change a pad, like if I on my HD 600s or some the 660s, I haven't had to do it yet. But some of them, I will always go back to the OEM if possible and put those pads on. But no, I get your point. I'm not saying you're wrong. All right, let's see. For testing sibilant and treble, use Something Good Can Work by Two Door Cinema Club. Something Good. I don't think I've heard that song. I'll have to look into that one. LOL. Don't know what you're laughing at, but okay. Oh, your dad had Vinyl of Heart. This has been a really fun group this evening. I absolutely agree. All right, let's see. Does not matter about yours or anyone's age. Good music transcends time and millenniums. Absolutely. If it's a good song, it sticks. There's still, there's a reason why on the radio there's the oldies channel. Still sticks. And if you really think about it, some of the classical music out there has been around for hundreds of years. So there you go. Have I tried the Ananda Stealth? I have not yet. I want to though. I want to hear. I want to see how much of a difference it does make compared to my original. Wood is super sexy on the T60. I would love to try an argon version. Yeah, the wood is really really cool, especially in person when you hold it. It just has this like feel to it and just look that a lot of others just don't have. It's just, I love the look of the T60. It's just so cool. Any other questions? To answer your question, Heart was they were not sisters, I don't believe, or were they? And oh wait, yes they were. Ann Wilson and Nancy Wilson. Interesting. So you had Roger Fisher on guitar, Steve Fossen on bass guitar, and then Ann Wilson was lead vocal and flute. Nancy Wilson was rhythm guitar, backing an occasional lead. And then you had Michael DeRozier on drums and Howard Leese also did guitar and keyboard. And that was Heart. There you go. In case you were wondering. How many dogs is too much? Anything over 4. I have 4 dogs, so 5 or above. Let's see. T60 has a smaller driver. Does it have good sub bass? Yeah, actually, I think the T60 it's more defined, and it has a better detail and resolution than the T50. Even though the T50 is a little bit bigger, I think the T60 actually sounds more accurate, and it has a little bit better extension, in my opinion. And then when you do the argon mod, it really brings it out. Oh, really? Heart was a metal band to start? I did not know that. Uh, let's see, a quick tour of the equipment that is in shot. Okay, we can do that. So starting over here, you can barely see it, but the closed back is the Odyssey LCD2 closed. And then you have the silver grate is the Hi-Fi-Man Ananda. Then you have the Hi-Fi-Man Aria Stealth. And then you have the Mr. Speaker's Ether C. Down here, the tan color. Well, you can't see that one on camera, but there's a T50 variant that is modded, and the name just slipped me. Anyways, Meze 99 Classics, and then you have AKG K275s, and then way down in the corner, sitting on the orange thing, those are the Superlux HD 681 Evo. Let me turn my chair. By the Honest Audio, now you can't see it. The headphone by the Honest Audiophile is the Rode NTH 100. On the stand here, you have the Hi-Fi-Man Sundara, Sennheiser 580 Black Silk, and down below where it says ADV, if I can't see that, is the Blue Lola. Now we'll change. Up on this speaker here, we have the Audio Technica R70Xs. On this speaker here, we have the Sennheiser HD8XX from Drop. We have Sennheiser HD600, HD660S. We have them sitting on the Shit Audio Vidar speaker amps. The speakers are Martin Logan Motion 15s. We have the Sivga SVO21s and the ESS Labs. I don't remember the model, 502s or something like that. Computer and a bunch of other stuff I won't get. We have the Drop THX 1 linear, Mytek Liberty DAC 2, Headamp GSX Mini, a Little Bear switcher box, and down here we have an Audiophile Deckard, which you probably can't see, SMSL DO100 and HO100 stack, and make sure I don't knock everything over. And then the Sundara is sitting on an Ayun X1S GT. And then this, which you can barely see, is the Tor Audio Roger. And there's a whole lot of IEMs that I'm not going to break out. So there you go. There's a tour. Microphone is a Rode Podcaster. And camera is a OnePlus 9 Pro. All right, there we go. If I missed anything, let me know. All right, let's see. Believe it or not, Heart started out as a metal. Okay, we already talked about that. Waiting time scares me. I like to have it quick as possible in my hands as I bought it. Patience with waiting on things I buy, you lack. I'm with you. Some things just take forever. Mytek Liberty DAC 2, long time wait. Months wait. All right, let's see. T60 Argon versus Ananda, complete opposites. T60 Argon, big bass, warm, a very laid back and chill type of presentation with good details. The Ananda, very analytical, very linear, more forward in your mids and in your treble presentation. A very airy, massive soundstage, really good imaging. Detail retrieval resolution is better on the Ananda as well. What is the worst audio gear you recently purchased? I guess worse, I mean that it was unexpectedly disappointing. That would be, let me pull it up. Hang on. I can tell you which one was sent to me that was terrible. Whoops. Give me a second. I have to get up my my schedule. I'll tell you. Probably about one of the worst, most disappointing things that I have heard that I purchased I would be those ESS Labs 252s. I'm not a big fan of those. Okay, let's see. Get back to the questions here. Heart Barracuda was a great rock song. Barracuda was a good song. I agree with you on that. Accurate is not the same as timbre. That is correct. Timbre is the actual differentiate. Hang on. I'll spit it out after I get a drink. All right, let's try that again. Timbre is the reproduction of recognizable characteristics of an instrument or vocals, and it allows the listener to determine or differentiate between instruments or vocals and to follow them through a musical piece. Okay, so it's what defines like the difference between an oboe and a flute or a clarinet, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, different types of percussion instruments, things like that. It's what defines it, and you're like, okay, that's what that is. It gives you those characteristics, recognizable characteristic. And then accurate is just what accurate means. It is accuracy. Um, it's the ability of the gear, not your instruments or your vocalists, but it's the gear to reproduce the recording, but it may or may not be the accurate presentation of the original. So it's actually reproducing the recording as you would think that it was recorded. Okay, so good evening, Dave. Hello, Carmine. You still in Toronto? I think it was. I had the pleasure of trying the Meze Empyrean. I now understand what a great headphone should sound like, as opposed to my 650s, which are nice, but the Meze Empyreans are fire. Awesome. I'm glad that you understand that and you had the opportunity. Meze Empyreans are amazing. Are they the most exceptionally good studio headphone? Not necessarily. But are they a quality good sound? Yes. Are they a step up from the 650? Absolutely. All right, let's see. I think all of us here just got a serious case of envy. I'm sorry. Some of that's on loan. Anyways. All right, let's see. Timbre is one aspect of the sound. It can be accurate or not in that aspect, and not accurate or accurate in other things like bass response or Pratt or yeah, absolutely. I mean, accuracy will be part of revealing what timbre is, but timbre is totally different than it. You're like Metal 571, but aged in review IEMs. Thank you for the kind words. Do greatly appreciate that. Glad that you think of it that way. Sibilant of the Ananda versus HD800S. 800S is a little more intense. So like the Ananda does it in a more natural way, in my opinion, whereas the 800S is a little too elevated and a little bit more direct. It's kind of like when somebody has a flashlight, like a really powerful flashlight, and they shine it in your direction and you catch it out of the corner of your eye, or they shine it directly at you. The Ananda is where it catches you out of the corner of your eye, and the 800S is when they shine it directly at your eye. The intensity is still there with the Ananda, but it's not as like, you know, as it is with 800S, if that makes sense. Hey, Keith, if you happen to get a T60 Argon, look forward to hearing your impressions. You're very welcome. What's my chair? My chair is, I think it's pronounced a Rosie. Yeah, no, Rosie. Never mind the cat hair on it. It's an Rosie racing chair. I don't remember the specific model. Okay, let's see here. Thanks for the tour. I guess most of us have watched and tried to play Name the Background Headphone. Some of you have asked what is various ones. But yeah, believe it or not, that's not all of them. I do have a couple others that are on loan that aren't being displayed at the moment. I don't have enough room on my desk. It's crowded. But you're very welcome for that. What is your mic armature? Armature? You turn my mic stand. It is it's made by Onstage. The actual arm is, and then this part, the shock, is a Rode. if that's what you're referring to. Do you wear your glasses when trying out over ear headphones? My glasses cause a squeaky sound on the ear pads if I move my head too much. Yeah, actually, I wear my glasses all the time. If I take them off, I'm blind as a bat. I cannot really see anything. So, yeah, I do wear glasses. I have a couple of different frames that I wear. These tend to be my most squeaky, probably because I paid like really cheap for them. But I don't normally have too much squeaky issues with headphones. It depends on how much the clamp force is. Um, but I do find that the thinner the frames are, the less impeding they are with seal. But in order to be able to see what songs playing or anything, that I'm doing, I have to have my glasses on. I'm pretty blind without them. When you win the lottery, you'll get a Meze Empyrean. Understand that. Um, Different songs require different headphones for proper timbre to you. Um, I think it kind of comes down to how they're recorded and the genre of music that can portray that. A lot of times the mixing and mastering can affect timbre um, because of whether or not they elevate it or dip it out a little bit, change things around. Also, so I think that it's kind of a all in several different factors go into play there as to how timbre can be reflected. Is there any point to acquiring a 660S if one has the 58X and the 6XX? I haven't heard the 58X, but I have the 580 Black Silk. Now, I do know that they do sound differently according to various reports, so I'm not 100% sure on that. And then the 6XX, which is a 650. In my opinion, a 660S is a little bit better than a 650. It has a little bit better of a sound stage. It also has a little bit better bass control and detail retrieval and resolution. In my opinion, 660S is a step up from the 650, but is it a significant difference? Not so much. It kind of depends on what you're looking for. The 660S is not as forward in the mids as the 650 is. So to answer your question, really wanting something to be, you're specifically missing something with the 650 that you're not happy with. Buy the Empyrean used when the Elite came out a lot, flooded the used market. If you love the Empyrean, don't count out used. Yeah, that's a good point. There are quite a few Empyreans available now in the used market. I've seen them going for as low as about $1,600 to $1,700. So they might even be going down a little bit more now once the elites really do start to take hold in the market. Let's see. Hi, Dave. Does the Hi-Fi and Aria have a bigger soundstage than a T50 Argon? Because I have the Argon, but in my opinion, it is not huge. Yes. Argon has a fairly small stage. It's not really expansive. It does good with depth and layering, but it's not as wide. Arias are definitely larger. Hey, Rodney, thank you very much. Appreciate the $4.99. And you're right. Hit that like button. Absolutely. Do appreciate all of the support tonight, and do greatly appreciate everybody that's joined us. 38 people right now. Awesomeness. Yeah, hit that like button if you're liking the stream. We'll hang out for a little bit longer. Aria has one of the bigger stages that I've heard on a headphone. So, yes, definitely bigger than T50 to answer your question there. Christopher, talking at Mike, that's a valid point. Linus Tech Tips recently invested into audio testing equipment and engineering to utilize it. They say wearing glasses can actually impede the potential of what it can do. Yeah, I mean, it can break your seal. There has been proof of that. I think somebody did a test of that even before Linus, but unfortunately, I haven't really heard the difference, truthfully. So maybe it's a minimal difference. I don't know. I'm curious to see what Linus comes up with. If there's anybody that can do that test, it would be him. That guy's a genius. See, Kirk. I have a very specific question. Too convoluted for live stream. Is there a way he can contact you other than here? Yes. You can send me an email. There's links down below, or check out a previous video. Also on my website, you can send messages that way by joining as a member. There's no cost for that. You can just sign up and then you can send me messages on the website. I also have Twitter and Instagram if you want to send messages through those. And Keith, you're very welcome for the advice on the 660s. The cheapo, or is it the cheapo? From Mexico. Hello, welcome. Let's see. Found myself picking out certain headphones and IEMs for specific albums. This hobby makes us ridiculously picky, doesn't it? Though there are definitely some favorites on things that I've come across where it just sounds amazing, like on a certain amplifier, certain DAC, certain track, and a certain headphone or IEM. Absolutely, totally agree on that. I'm thinking of getting T60 argons for bass cannons in addition to XS for a different flavor. I think I'd be an end game possibility. Very possible. If the and the XS basically is similar to an Ananda, so Ananda and T60s definitely are two different flavors. I recommend you 100% that you play for the listening experience Subnautica game. Absolutely, Subnautica is fun. Just don't have enough time to play it. I've played it a little bit, but I haven't explored much. But it is a fun game, and it's very much not my usual style. I'm very much a racer and a sports guy. So Subnautica takes a lot of patience from me because I'm like, man, I just want it to build right now. I just want to get out of this. I don't want to have to go out, watch my air quality, and have to go search for things, remember where I searched. But I do love playing Subnautica, and it is a fun game. Let's see. What is your wife's name, and does she enjoy the same kind of music as you? Besides no speakers in the living room, any other no-nos? My wife's name is Michelle. She does love pretty much the same type of music as me, for the most part. Kind of more the classic rock and 90s, 80s, 90s music. She's more into. When it comes to, she's a little more conservative in her style, and she likes a lot more conservative groups and music artists than me. But we do have similar taste. Is there any other no-nos besides speakers? Doing long live streams when she's home. Let's see. Playing music loudly. She's always telling me to turn down things, even though I think it's at a decent level. Other than that, we pretty much agree on everything. Let's see. Thanks, Doris, for coming by. Hope you have a good week after some of the online nonsense you've had to deal with recently. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. This hobby, like others, is difficult as when you've had something good, it then becomes the status quo, and anything of lesser quality won't do it for you anymore. Absolutely. $25 IEMs or less. Not really. Not really my expertise here. Let me take a look at my cheat sheet. Let's see, what have I recommended? Cost KSC 75s if you can get the fit to work properly. Um, Moondrop True if you're not super picky about treble and thin bass. VE Monk Plus, those are fun if you don't mind earbuds. Um, let's see. Triple and Leia isn't a bad choice for that price point. All right, let's see what else we got here. It tends to be an escalation, one good device after another. It can. I think that a lot of times when you aren't like settled on, I know what I'm seeking, sometimes you can go keep on going. But once you're like, know exactly what you're seeking and you find it, sometimes you can be a little more content. And you don't constantly look for the next thing. I've kind of gotten there when I got the MyTech Liberty, um, and then the head amp GSX Mini and things like that. They came along, and even though other good gear has come, some of it has been like, oh, this is close, but nothing has like immediately said, oh, you gotta get rid of this, or you got to replace it and get this. It's more like, do I? Should I? You know. Whereas when before I was a little more settled in what I'm seeking, it was a little bit more of I like it, but I like it, but I like it, but kind of depends on your approach, I think. Um, sure, S12 or 7 hertz Dioko. I can't talk about the Dioko yet because I haven't received the replacement filters, so I can't confirm whether or not which version I have. It's coming to an end, getting bored with it. Oh, you're talking about gear. I understand that. Sometimes, yeah, you can get into that spot where you just know that it's just not cutting it anymore and you need to move on. Sony MDR EX15 LP is tuned well, really cheap, but lacks resolution. I have not heard that one. Is that the little itty bitty bullet style one? Is that what you're talking about? Lacks resolution, that could be a problem if it becomes harsh. I think anyone should listen to UC Big Girl soundtrack from Attack on Best soundtrack ever. I wasn't expecting anime will do soundtracks like this. Okay. Have I tried any Hi-Fi-Man amps? I have not in person. I've heard a couple of them at live at audio shows, but not enough really to make any comments because I don't remember anything. Try Avid by Sawano Hiroko. Okay. Thanks for the suggestion. Say Kirk. My wife and I had the same taste in music, but she hated my audio equipment. Now I have an ex-wife in the music room and video room. I display my equipment with glee. So much happier. That's a bummer. You know, if you enjoy the music, but yet not the gear, that would be hard. That would be a frustration. All right. So you think you'll go with the Moondrop Chew for the $25? Heard good things about them, and I like bright sounding IEMs. Okay. I mean, it's not a bad IEM for the price. It just didn't do it for me. Um, why are divorces so expensive? Because they're so worth it. Well, I've been married for 22 years. Hope it never comes to that. I'm very happy. But if it makes you happier, any other questions? Got 44 people. Surely, 45 people now. Surely somebody has a question or a comment. We'll go for a little bit longer here. Which do you recommend for $200? I prefer natural sounding, no colorization of sound, just a real deal, good sounding IEM. Moondrop Kato, JQ4U Pro. You could also go with the Yan Yin Aladdin for a little bit more. Sorry, you're jaded. I understand. What are the Aria Stealth weak points? A little too elevated in the mids, a little too forward. And a little bit unnatural soundstage width. In my opinion, it sounds just a little bit too stretched. Other than that, it's a really good headphone. And I love them. I really do. And I'm nitpicking when I say that. I don't want a divorce. I just want money to buy the garage. Okay. Have you tried any ZMF headphones? I thought the Verita Opens were a bit cold sounding. I have only heard ZMFs at audio shows. Haven't gotten any in-house yet, other than the ZMF Classics, which were a T50 mod, which were interesting. Kind of T50 Argon-ish. Doesn't make them anymore, though. Verite Opens, you thought they were a bit cold sounding. I heard Verite Opens. I didn't think they were cold. They are a little leaning that way, but they're not like lacking in warmth. But I'd have to hear them on, in person to really do that. I think I like the Verite closed better than the opens, if I remember correctly. Any recommendations, advice for happiness in marriage? Yes. Treat your wife like she's a princess. Love her every single day and tell her that. And just absolutely treat her with respect. You're looking for a studio monitor that doesn't color sound for a friend. Any suggestions? Any price points? Cheapest one would be a Rode NTH 100. If you're looking for a speaker, studio monitor, that's a different story. Let's see. MDR 706 NTH 100s are considerations well below 150 bucks. Absolutely. You could also go, if you don't quite want as much treble, you could go with the CD 900 STs. I have the Kato. Is the Aria worth it for diversity? I mean, you get a little bit different of sound, but not much. A little bit more bass impact, not as resolving, and a little bit more aggressive presentation in the upper mids. Kato is the better one. I don't know. You're taking a step back for the Aria, in my opinion. Kynera, I done Golden better than the Kato. No. If you're looking for IEM studio monitors, yes, the Idomotics would be very good. 3XR, I haven't heard that, but I heard the 2XR, 2SE is also a good option. The SR2XR is also very good. Thoughts on amps with little or no global feedback? Global feedback. Can you clarify what you mean by that, please? How did the Gallo horns compare to the ZMFs you listened to? Now, bear in mind, ZMFs I have very limited knowledge on. Very limited listening experience. Gale horns have a big soundstage, and they have really good depth and layering. They do that, and they also have a like natural approach to the tone. Um, but ZMF seemed to be a little bit more accurate when it came to natural tone and timbre, and also to be a little bit better detail retrieval and resolution. But the Gale horns destroyed it when it came to soundstage with depth and layering. 660s for 370, 58X for 180. Is it worth the upgrade? I would go with 660S if you're going to choose between the two. I do think it is a better headphone. Now, granted, I haven't heard 58X. I've only heard 580. I'm low on budget. Should I go for Moondrop, Space, or Blonde BO3s, or the CCAs? I don't have any external decks to use. Okay, I will not recommend CCA or KZ. Um, Moondrop Spaceship or Blonde BL03. Between those, I would go Blonde BL03. The spaceships are smaller, bullet size, but they do have a more V-shaped sound, and they are a little intense up top at times. Blind 03 is a little more natural sounding. Um, okay, so for Edomoics, the SCs are more flat, whereas XRs have the extended sub bass. Yeah, so that's basically the same as it is with the twos. So threes operate the same way. Sean, sorry, the IER Z1R. Z1Rs I've only heard once. Liked them a lot. Big stage, lots of bass power, and authority. They had a nice presence in the mids and good treble control. I really did like the IER Z1Rs. Pricey. All right, let's see. Sorry, my wife just sent me a picture. She's out of town, and she just sent me a picture. I wish I could share it with you all, of a friend of ours. Um, they always pick on him as he needs to have a toupee, which he actually doesn't. But they bought him one as a gag gift, and he tried it on. Hilarious pictures. All right. Anyways, let's see. Keith, you're very welcome. Let's see. Bird Dynamic DT 770s or the 990s. 990s are more detailed, have better resolution, and overall are the more technical sound. 770s have a little bit more bass presence and are a little bit more pleasurable to listen to. Um, but I would say if you're looking for that more analytical, critical listening, go with the 990. 770 is going to give you a little bit more of a pleasurable listen. Yes, 990s would be ear razors on some gear. And the Z1Rs, they're not ear razors, not in my opinion. Yeah, whenever I buy, speaking of Steven, when you say buy used for worn pads, whenever I buy a headphone used, unless it's like specifically states pads were just replaced or it's an open box new, I always buy replacement pads, especially when I buy a Sennheiser used. Always replace the pads. Let's see. CMF sound signatures are the best for me, but I don't like the weight and the price. Any other recommendations? Okay, definitely I can understand the weight. They are heavy. They definitely are. The other recommendations, price is definitely a problem too. So sound wise, there's very few that I've heard that have the same natural tonality as a ZMF. Um, if you're looking for that's kind of a loaded question. Depends on which model you're looking for. Um, and what price point. That's tough. That's real tough. Recommendations, I would probably look at Focal. You could go Focal Clear, Focal Elex from Drop. Treble might be a little problem. Timbre can be off on those at times. You could go Sennheiser. Um, some of the Hi-Fi-Mins, Aria Stealth, Ananda. But again, you may have a different timbre approach. It's not going to be quite as naturally warm and thick like the ZMFs. Um, things like that. That's tough. Okay, Kirk, thank you very much again for the donation. Any TWS recommendations? 200 plus or minus 50 bucks. I only have wired. TWS, that's a definite chink in my armor. Um, I don't have a whole lot of recommendations there. Haven't come across any TWS that I really enjoy. You could get, I mean, here's my experience. I'll show you. So I reviewed the Moondrops. Both of those were okay. Nico Cakes were not near as good as the other one. I don't remember the name of the other one. Sorry, it slipped my mind. Um, and then I have the Grell drop Grells. These are kind of finicky, um, kind of hard to fit. They're a little bit on the chunky side, and they're just kind of awkward fit. Sound wise, they're okay. A little bit on the bassy side and a little warm convenience. Have a good microphone though, but they're a little finicky on connection. And then I have the Helm Audio, and they look like that. These are actually pretty good. I do enjoy them. Again, very bassy, but they also have an excellent microphone. But my TWS is very, very limited in experience. So I do apologize for that. Um, all right, let's see here. Steven says the DT990 sounds better with worn pads. Should be a premium for used pads. Maybe that's why I thought they were so bright. Interesting. Um, let's see, Ricardo. I recommend bridges and shoulder shrugs. We'll do that definitely when listening to ZMFs. Do that when I listen to my Odyssey LCD2 closed and my Roston Red Zeros. The comfort is tough at times on that. But as far as sound, that's really hard to find something that sounds like it, but that it fits better. Definitely tough. Focal does not have the same sound signature as ZMF. I was just saying that that would be another option to look at. Focal has a more, they're tipped a little bit in the mids and treble, a little bit more than ZMF. Soundcore Life .2s. I've heard good things with those. The Libertech Z3 2.0s, I've also heard good things about those. Haven't heard either one. Hey, Lori, thank you for swinging by. Hope to talk soon. Sure. Have some stuff. All right. Send me an email. Look forward to it. Or give me a call. All right. AKG TWS before the Samsung buyout in 2017 were Harman Curve tuned. B&Os are great. They're $399 though. Ooh, it's a little pricey. Yeah, unfortunately, TWS is not really something I've explored much and isn't really something that I have a whole lot of interest in. I'm not out and about a ton. Um, and when I am, I just take along a dongle and IEMs. Got the opportunity to try out the HE1000 SE and the Susvara. Very nice. As an upgrade to the Aria, what an awesome experience. Very fortunate to have a brick and mortar store near me. Hope they never disappear. That's really cool. Those are two headphones that sound amazing. HE1000 SEs are fantastic. Susvaras are too. Um, Glad that you have a brick and mortar nearby. I do not have one nearby. The closest music store for me is Sweetwater. That's about 50 miles away. And it's more pro gear than anything else. So, you get the Shures and Rhodes, Sennheisers, AKG, stuff like that. But not that I'm complaining because I love my Rhodes, but it would be cool to have a store that sold, you know, hi-fi mins and things like that. Dream of having an HE1000 V2 one day. Have I heard of Gladiator cables? Yeah, somebody was talking about those. I haven't tried one, but I have heard of them. Don't know anything about them though. I haven't really looked them up. Um, could you pair a HE1000 V2 or Susvara with the 789 and the Modius? Susvara probably wouldn't run very well on a 789. It does take a lot of power. It probably would push it, but I don't know if it would give it optimal. As far as the HE1000 as you should be able to. Is let's see, is the Kato a neutral Harman sound signature like current? I wouldn't say it's full Harman. It's a little bit more a tame Harman tune than it is the neutral, what they consider to be full on neutral. I don't think the 789 THX amps would be a good pair. Plenty of power, but I like them better on less clinicals. Yeah, I would say the HE 1000 probably became a little brittle on the 789, depending on what DAC you paired it with. Is there a $500 amp for those? Ooh, that's a good question. Um, let's see. Let me go over here. Let me see if I have in my amp section any recommendation for that. Not really. Um, yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I don't have that answer for you in the $500 amplifier range that would power the HE1000 SEs and or V2 and Susvaras. Oh, here's another tough. Christopher is all about the controversial questions tonight. At what point in the day is the best time to listen to music? At what point do you appreciate music more enough you catch yourself singing or dancing? Okay. Um, Rarely ever do I find myself dancing. That's that's just not me. Might do air guitar every now and then. As far as singing, that only happens when nobody else is around. Um, and what is the best time to listen? Actually, to me, it just kind of varies. It depends on how my day's going, what I've been doing, um, mood, and all that kind of stuff. I really don't have a specific time that sounds best. Now, some people say that listening at nighttime is better. Some people say listening at the morning when you're first up is better. I think it just kind of depends on the person. Um, and for me, it just kind of varies. Asgard 3. That would probably be a good pairing for the HE1000 SE or HE1000 V2. Okay, so in regards to Gladiator cables, his name is Antonio, and he makes amazing cables for a fair price out of Italy. He can make a ton of different cables as well as aesthetically. Oh, that's cool. I will have to look him up. Does he ship worldwide? Hear that the HE V2 is less sibilant and more natural than Ari and Ananda, even Stealth Mac. Yes, that is, yeah, it would be, that's an accurate assumption in my experience. From my limited experience, I've heard of them. Let's see, JQ 4U Pro or Kato. Pick just one. I would go with the 4U Pro. Yeah, they're $2,000. Maybe you could find one used, but they're rare to find used. Recommendation for a first pair of IEMs wired around $300 and a headphone amp for them around the same price. Okay. So for a headphone amplifier, if you want a deck amp, the Aune X1S GT is actually really good with IEMs. And it has 4.4 balance and a 1/4 inch out, and it works fantastically. I have no problems with output impedance or anything of that sort. And it comes in right around $300. If you just want an amplifier, drop one linear. It's a very good option. Or the 789. 789 plays well with IEMs, but the 789 is a little bit more on the brittle side and a little bit more intense in its presentation than the one linear. IEMs, $300. You can go with the Zen's Mangard T2. You could go with the JQ4U Pro, which I just mentioned, Moondrop Kato, The Audio Elixir. Kind of depends on what you are looking for. Moondrop Blessing 2s are another good option. It just kind of depends on what actual presentation you're looking for. There's a lot of good options right there. Check out my tier list here. I will send a link to it, and you can sort it by price, and then you look at the grade, and might help you be able to decide. Hey, you're welcome. Do you recommend buying used headphones and advice? I buy used all the time. In fact, the majority of my gear that I purchase has been purchased used. I try to, when I do purchase gear used, I try to get it new open box or almost brand new. And I really, really research the buyer. And so I'm very picky in that and very cautious of that. So I totally understand um, the the leeriness of buying used. So just do your research on it and really make sure of that. I have no problems with it though. Some manufacturers have to be a little more careful on though buying used, as you know, some stuff is a little more fragile than others. Um, Too much risk to buy a HE1000 V2 used. I would do it, but as I said, I would really, really research it and be extremely careful um, as to who the buyer or who the seller is and things like that. Um, Hi-Fi Mins are a little iffy on quality. I haven't had too many issues with them, but it can be a question. So I totally understand that, especially paying that price point. All right, let's see. iPad Junkie, you're welcome. Please, someone locally send a HANA 2021 for Dave to test. All right, do it. I've only heard the original and reviewed it. Let's see. Okay, so I just got a notification that my phone battery is starting to dwindle. So we're down to just under 20%. So I'm going to start wrapping it up. We'll get about 10, 15 minutes more here of questions, and then we'll call it a day. Try buying new if you can. Display or never used. Buying a used set means changing pads ASAP. because of sweat and such is the equivalent of buying someone's unwashed or used underwear. It could be. Um, yeah. I've had some headphones that have come that you're just like nasty, and I immediately changed the pads and cleaned them off. One of my Sennheisers um, that I got used, it was the 580. Those things were, they had like crusty, it didn't look like it in the picture. The picture was very nice. But when they came, the headband had like this grimy filth on top of it. The pads were disgusting with hair. I mean, they had more hair on it than it did like actual fabric and things like that. And so I really had to doctor them back up. Thankfully, they still sounded good and played well, but they definitely needed some love. So be careful of who you purchase from. So yes, changing pads definitely. That's the reason why I said try to go new open box, unused demo units if possible. Um, yeah, they were bad. I mean, I've had some pads here, where like Sennheisers where cat hair will get on them and you'll have to clean it off. But those were like caked on it. It was bad. Uh, Bought Sundars used for a good price. They smell like hair products, but they're clean and perfect. Well, that's better better than having lots of cat hair on them for sure. What is your favorite Ted Nugent song? Does it have to be Ted Nugent solo? Um, hmm. Not a huge Ted Nugent fan, but hmm. Trying to think. What is some of Ted Nugent's songs? Hmm. I mean, look. Probably if I really had to just name one, it would probably be Cat Scratch Fever. um, that'd probably be the way I would go. Why not? I'll just throw that one out there. All right, let's see what else we got. I have the TFC number threes. Is it good to upgrade to the Kato? Yes. You're going to get a whole lot better tone, timbre, detail retrieval, resolution, but you won't have the bass. It will not be near as impactful as the number three, um, but it'll be overall technically a better headphone or earphone. Excuse me. I like Ted Nugent, the dude, not the music so much. Yeah, I mean, it's not like his music is bad or anything, or that I just don't like it. It's just it's kind of like, yeah, I'd rather listen to something else. In fact, I'd rather listen to Kenny Loggins than Ted Nugent. You don't think you know any of his other songs? It's pretty much the way let's see. Let's see. You buy from Audio Gone for used. What sites do you usually buy from? I have bought off of Headfi. I have bought off of eBay. Most of my stuff I purchased off of eBay. And there was another one I don't remember the name of though. Um, Reverb or something like that. You draw the line at logins. Hey, he does have a couple hits. Let's see. OnePlus had some amazing amps when phones had headphone jack. What was the factor that sold you on the jackless OnePlus 9? The camera. Ah, you bought your icons from there. Gotcha. All right. So I'm going to start wrapping up. Do appreciate everybody that joined today. We had a big crowd and it was fun. I got a lot of questions answered. If you have anything else that pops into your brain right now, uh, toss it into the chat and I'll try to squeeze it in the next 5 minutes. But my phone is starting to dwindle. It's really, really starting to go down on battery. So, but anyways, I do appreciate everybody swinging by, the donations tonight and the appreciation, the love, all the comments, and that's just greatly appreciated. And it's been fun hanging out with y'all after a week of vacation. So I do appreciate it. Stranglehold by Ted and Nugent. Ah, I got you. Okay. You got the Atticus now. So you went from the Icon to the Atticus. Is that because you wanted a little bit more bass and a little warmer sound? Did the Icon have a little too much intensity in the uppers? Is that the reason for the change? Hey, you're welcome, Keith. A90 with the HE1000 V2. I don't like the A90 at all. It's very flat, boring, lifeless. It doesn't have dynamics, in my opinion. I don't think it would be a good pairing with the HE1000. You're very welcome for the answers. Have a good night. Thank you. We need to have a philosophy talk sometime. Audio hobby theories. Maybe we do that on a live stream at some point. Might be interesting. You went from Icons to Atticus to Verti Opens and a few in between, then decided to try the Atticus. Oh, tours, and then you went to Atticus. Hey, you're welcome, Mike. Glad that you found the stream helpful. If you don't like the A90, how do you like the 789? I love the 789. I think 789 is very good. 789 has dynamics. 789 has a accurate presentation, whereas the A90 is flat. The 789 is not flat. There is a difference between flat and neutral. Neutral is reproduction of accuracy, and there's ups and downs in it. 789 portrays that. A90 is flat and it has none of that, so you don't get the dynamics of the A90. I think you preferred the Atticus to the Aeolus. Interesting. I actually liked the Aeolus. I love the Atticus. I think Atticus is a very good headphone. But the Aeolus had a little bit more to me. But I can understand that if you're a little sensitive to the uppers presentation, Aeolus can come across as a little bright. So I can understand that. Thank you, Christopher. For actually, you enjoyed the natural audio video. Awesome. A90 and 789 are not close at all. 789 has life to it. 789 has a neutral approach with good dynamics, and it's very analytical and clean. A90 is flat. Sure, it has the little analytical, detailed part of it, but it has no dynamics or life whatsoever. It's boring as all get out. And it just doesn't sound proper because it's flat. You miss all of the proper peaks and valleys that you get in music. Yo Tour has the best tone of any headphone I've ever heard, even the MDR R10s, but it lacks Pratt. I can understand that. The Aeolus definitely has very good tone and timbre, but it does lack a little bit of of the life. I understand that. Hey, you're very welcome for answering all your questions. You're very welcome, and I hope you sleep well as well. Hey, you're welcome, Christopher. I've been a rock star. I never played music, but okay, I'll take that. So that's why you liked Atticus today. Oh, it's because it sounds more alive and more engaged. I can understand it. That makes sense, actually. I can see a lot of people doing that, but also I think a lot would lean towards Aeolus or Auteur because of the little bit more uh, tendency to be detailed oriented and a little bit on the more neutral side of it. I can get that. Am I with Elon Musk about making a sound chip inside our head? Very interesting concept, very unique thought. Not sure I want to be the first one to try it. I'll let everybody else try it before I do. But he's an interesting guy. He's got some interesting ideas. Some I'm for, some I'm like, oh, but yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, when he is it like the universal translator that they have in Star Trek? Is that kind of the concept of it? I mean, that's be interesting. You're watching from two accounts. Interesting. All right. So, anyways, with that, as they say on Top Gear, let's end on that bombshell. So I do appreciate everybody swinging by, and I truly have enjoyed the fun. And I greatly appreciate everything that you have donated tonight and all the questions. And hopefully, I've been a little helpful to y'all. And before you leave, don't forget to give a thumbs up, thumbs down. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Check out the links if you want to contact me in any way, if you need more information. And there's all kinds of, other information down below, music recommendations, gear recommendations. Also, in the chat, there are some links that I dropped for my websites and various things like that. So check all that out. Do greatly appreciate everybody for coming by. I'm going to say goodnight before my phone keels over and dies from exhaustion. Thank you very much. You guys have a great night. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.